Okay. Looks like we're live. Yep.
Okay.
All right,
oh,
cool.
Oh gosh. That was the yell. That's so funny.
That's
okay. That's okay.
Alrighty then. Okay.
I forgive
Welcome
myself.
back, everybody.
Welcome back.
We are here with
Yes.
the ReVitalized Podcast.
ReVitalized Podcast. Yes.
ReVitalized
Excited
Podcast.
to do another one with you, my love.
Mm-hmm. So for everybody watching, if we sound good, let us know. If we sound bad, also please let us know so we can fix that.
Exactly.
So that we can sound good, so that
Yeah.
people can let us know that we sound good. That'd be great.
Uh-huh.
But we're here. We're going to talk about detox tonight. We're going to talk about detoxification, how to do that naturally inside the body.
How to detox your body naturally, yes.
It's a very important topic.
Mm-hmm.
Many people need to do it. Many people try to do it incorrectly. We have a breadth of experience when it comes to detoxification. It's a big pillar in the academy, so it's one of the things that we do often, all the time. And so we're going to talk about it with you guys. We're going to teach everybody some stuff that is important to know about detoxification.
And there's a lot of misconceptions about it too. And, obviously we want to start off with, expressing we're not doctors or anything like that. But, we're people that understand the body and know how to work with what the body is already trying to do. We're not trying to control anything. We're not trying to hack anything biologically or anything like this. We're trying to align and support with the body because the body is incredible. Your body is incredible. And sometimes, just like each of us, we need a little bit of support to get the job done.
Exactly. But the main point when it comes to detox, and if somebody only learns one thing from watching the episode tonight or the recording later, is that you don't have to do a detox. That's a big misconception. Your body is always constantly detoxing all the time. The problem becomes when those systems start to slow down and they get damaged because of a poor lifestyle, because of malnutrition, because of toxicity, because of whatever the problem is. But you don't have to do a detox. You have to assist your body to detox better. You have to make sure that all of the different systems that are built into your body that already mostly focus on detox are just working. And if those systems are working, then you're going to detox all the time, whether you're trying to or not. And so the human body, all of us, we have we have multiple elimination systems. So if you're a man, you got about 5. If you're a woman, you have 6. And to emphasize how important those are, we only have one brain. We only have one heart. That's 2. We only have one heart and we have one brain, but we have 5, or in this case 6 if you're a woman, systems that are mostly designed to detox, to eliminate waste, solid waste, liquid waste, gas waste, out of the body, to keep us clean. Okay? The body cleaning itself is an incredibly, incredibly important part of health. And considering the extreme amounts of toxicity that we're exposed to in our environment these days, from the food, from the water, from the air, from the people, from the pollution, the oceans, the lakes, the concrete, the construction, the buildings, the cities, it's everywhere. The cleaning products, the pesticides, the forever chemicals. It's just, it's extremely hard to avoid. And so maintaining our body's ability to detox has never been more important than it is these days. And it's such an important thing because we've seen natural detoxification, just getting the body's own systems working piece by piece, step by step, system by system, getting those things online again, getting people having regular healthy bowel movements, having regular healthy pees, sweating often, breathing properly, all these kinds of things, getting the simple stuff working again. I mean, there's not much that we've seen that has given more people more results if we just picked one thing than detox, as far as pain, as far as getting more energy, getting the body stronger internally and externally, getting rid of soreness, pains, confusion, cognitive issues, all those kinds of things. It's massive. If we can just get the toxicity out of the body, just that alone makes so many more things work.
Absolutely.
And work way better, right? Before we even get into nutrition, before we even get into exercise, before we even get into trying very hard, just not having all this stuff on the inside of the body, damaging it 24/7, it's a huge, huge leg up.
Yeah. The body is a machine and it needs to operate efficiently.
Exactly.
And if we're not supporting our body with, the massive toxic load that we deal with day to day as humans, because we are living during the most toxic, polluted time in human history. If we're not doing so, it's not going to, be operating to, to the degree that it can be.
Exactly. So that's what our episode's about tonight. Before we get into that, we just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who has donated to our Revitalize Our World program. This show is possible because of all of you guys, because of our generous donors. You guys make all of our free education possible, and we're just so grateful that you guys are with us. You guys are a part of this, and you're helping us to bring good, healthy education to the world. The people that need it, right?
So thank you for being
So thank you guys. We appreciate you a whole bunch. And just, to kick everything off, I mean, like detoxification, there's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of experts. There's a lot of people that have lots of different programs and different methods and cleanses and things like that. Like I was saying earlier, and like Elle and I talk about all the time, it's our main philosophy is just we want to support the body, right? That you're not a single one of you watching or listening or watching the recording has ever had to have somebody plug a USB cable into your arm and teach your body how to convert oxygen into energy.
Well, that we know of. Yeah.
We could have a few cyborgs listening. I'm not too sure entirely. But that's something that's never had to happen, right? Your body has that stuff pre-programmed. Your heart knows how to be a healthy heart. Your brain knows how to be a healthy brain. Your colon knows how to be a healthy colon. And if we can just create the environment on the inside, create the circumstances, create the health, the strength, the hydration, the nutrition, the mental peace, the lifestyle that will just support your body to work properly, to do the maintenance regularly enough, then that's just what we see happen. If you get a Ferrari and you take care of the Ferrari, it will perform like a Ferrari. If you don't take care of the Ferrari, eventually it's going to perform like a Honda Civic. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you put into it, you have to take care of it. And our bodies are no different. Yeah. They're just infinitely more advanced than any car that we've ever made.
But what's excellent, though, is that with a truly healthy lifestyle, and sometimes people do need that extra help, that extra support, but with a truly healthy lifestyle, you can support your body very sustainably in a very simple manner where it doesn't, you don't have to spend millions of dollars or thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't have to turn your life upside down to be healthy. And I think a lot of people think you do. And I think that sometimes being healthy is made to be far more complicated and even overwhelming, than it has to be. And, that's where Justyn and I really try to come in because, it's great to have the education. The education is very important, but it's also giving examples, to help make that education applicable, right? So that it's sustainable, so that people can actually do it. Because it's great to hear all the facts and everything and learn that this is bad for you and this is good for you. And there's so much negativity and people are just telling you what not to do and how this is poisonous and that is poisonous. But we want to touch on the points that are important to be aware of, different toxins and stuff like this, but to really take a more positive approach where you can, take your health back.
You can do something about it.
Exactly.
Like one of our core values at the company, with our team, all of our media, everything we do in the academy. It's we don't ever want to expose a problem without also presenting a solution. We don't want to give bad news without giving good news because that doesn't serve anybody. If we just make a bunch of videos on Instagram all day long just talking about how toxic Teflon is and how messed up carcinogenic chemicals are and how bad your cleaning products are and
and you shouldn't have this for breakfast,
how terrible your diets are and blah 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 and all these kinds of things, but we never tell anybody what to do about it other than, hey, buy our stuff. That
doesn't work.
That does not bring any value to the world at all.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And it has to be awareness with solutions, not just scare tactics, propaganda, fear stuff that doesn't work.
Follow me or else you won't know how else you're poisoning yourself. It's no.
Exactly.
That's value is in results.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. So first point, we got to be very clear. Detoxification, if you're doing it right, you are supporting your body's natural ability. Okay, so that by default cuts out synthetic stuff, cuts out artificial stuff, cuts out things that try to biohack and change physiology. It cuts out things that were, often made in the lab, things like that. If you're going on a detox and you have to inject something into your body, or you have to take something that is foreign to the body, it's not coming from a natural source, it's just most likely dangerous, but also completely unnecessary. You're like, again, your body is the single most advanced piece of machinery on earth.
Yeah.
Like, every one of us live in the most advanced piece of technology on the face of the planet
Ever created.
And there's even people out there that's like, oh, well, the human brain can't compare to AI because AI can go through, terabytes and metabytes of data and like fractions of a second and all this kind of stuff. Okay, there might be computers out there that can process information faster than the human brain, but I highly doubt. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it's impossible for there to be a computer on the planet or any piece of technology that has the same computing power as our brains and is as efficient with electricity. Like, just that alone, that's incredibly advanced. Okay, so like you look at AI, you look at supercomputers, you look at any of these things, they take up like massive amounts of electricity. They have these giant data farms, these massive server warehouses. We have all this stuff. We have a lifetime of information, 80 years, 90 years worth of information, data, memories, emotions, feelings, experiences in the 6 to 8 inches in our head, depending on how large your cranium is, right? Like, that's wild, okay?
It's pretty wild.
You can put $6 million into a Bugatti, and no matter how much money you put behind that thing, no matter how fancy that paint job is, if you scratch it, it's not healing on its own. If I cut my arm, I don't even have to think about it, and it's healed on its own. That's just a default benefit. I didn't have to buy a DLC. I didn't have to buy an add-on. It just came with the deal, right?
Yep.
So your body is, first and foremost, good enough, strong enough, smart enough, healthy enough to keep itself clean if you support it correctly. So when we're looking at detox, the rule number one, it has to be natural. It has to be in harmony with your body. It has to be complementing and supporting your body's natural systems.
Absolutely. It can't be at odds with what you're trying to do. Again, you can't control the body because nature will always fight back. And we've seen this even with soil.
Well, you can't control the body and win.
Yeah, but you can't control what is natural. Because what is natural, you will prove that your efforts are foreign, are an attack, and the body won't like it. The body will fight back. This happens in nature, and our body is part of nature, right? Again, it's a machine. And the thing is like, this is a natural machine that requires natural methods for long-term, for the most long-term profitable results.
Totally. Well, that's another great point, because we're not looking at like a 6-month cleanse here. We're looking at a lifelong maintenance of low-grade toxicity.
Yeah,
very, very, very small amounts of the stuff that gets in us actually gets to stay because our body is constantly cleaning.
Yep,
and that should never end.
And it's important to look at what matters in the day-to-day stuff, but over the course of your entire life, the bird's eye view. There are certain things that need to be done. If you have an accident, like you don't need, like a kale salad or something like that if your arm gets cut off. You know what I mean? Like, you need surgery right then, right there. But when we're talking about long-term goals, long-term, the longevity of your health, of your mental health, of, your success in your relationships, and, how you, develop as a person, and like all these other things. We have to go the natural route because that's a route that's actually going to work.
Well, and not just that, but it's going to continue to work. Yeah. Right? It's sustainable, and it's something that you can do when you're 80, 90, 100 years old.
Yeah, without side effects.
Well, exactly. So again, rule number one, it has to support the body. The body is what is dictating this, what we're trying to do, and we're supporting it. It's already pre-programmed. You don't have to change nothing. We don't have to biohack. We don't have to synthesize anything. The body already does all that. As long as we just get it what it needs, it will do its job.
Yeah,
okay?
Your body does all the work for you. You're just literally doing, like, having healthy habits that will help support it. Exactly. It will do all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. So the first part of that is we have to understand that detox on a fundamental level it's movement. It comes down to things moving, right? So it doesn't matter if we're talking about heavy metals, parasites, forever chemicals, VOCs, EDCs, POPs, undigested food. Insert whatever it is that you think you want to cleanse out of your body, and you're probably right because chances are it's in there. But no matter what it is, the end goal doesn't change in the fact that we want to get that toxic thing all the way out. Mm-hmm. So this leads to another issue that we have with most detoxes out there is people get stuff out of order. They get stuff they jump the gun and they start to do things in a way that is not how the body would typically do it. And so like for what I mean by that is, for example, oftentimes people will be constipated and they'll focus on trying to do a liver flush or a kidney cleanse. Yeah. That doesn't work because the bowels are one of the main ways the body can release a lot of waste at once. It's our main way to release all physical waste every time we have a poop. And so if you're constipated, one of your tunnels is backed up and you're trying to pull a bunch of stuff out of your liver that's been built up in there because you had a ton of things and the liver got overloaded, it couldn't handle it properly, the kidneys couldn't flush it out, and so all of a sudden things just got isolated and contained and it's centered around your liver for whatever reason. You're trying to start pulling all that stuff out and you're not pooping properly, you're not peeing properly, you're not sweating well, you're not breathing properly, you don't have these elimination pathways open for business. You're not actually detoxing. You're just cleaning one part of the body and making the rest of it dirty. So we have to understand that movement, that detoxification is movement on a fundamental level. And that movement to work well, it has to go all the way. It can't just go part of the way. And that's like oftentimes why when people do detoxes, a lot of the time they feel really bad. Mm-hmm. Like they don't feel good while they're doing it. They get lots of detox symptoms. They get fatigue, they get bloating, they get aches and pains and cramps, and they get all grumpy and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to the whole point of we have to align with the body, not just try to take matters in our own hands and mm-hmm. and not listen to like the natural laws, the natural rules that are there that need to be followed in order to, accomplish what you want to accomplish, for something that is natural, which is your body. And so a few examples of signs that someone needs to detox are different things like constipation, like mm-hmm. Justyn mentioned, different gut issues, things like, IBS can be related and, discomfort, a lot of bloating, gas,
bad breath,
bad
BO,
breath,
fatigue, mm-hmm. confusion, inflammation.
Yeah, there's a lot of different symptoms that people are dealing with right now, especially if they're consistent, right? Like a person having consistent headaches, really bad period cramps, different things like this. The reality is, again, it doesn't mean that detoxing is 100% the end all be all. But it's one of the most important elements because, again, we live literally, you guys, during the most toxic time in human history. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't just look at how there's chemicals everywhere, man-made synthetic chemicals everywhere. And, as explained before, it doesn't match with a natural machine. It doesn't work. Like you see how when we, when people try to integrate like a lot of chemicals, like in a forest or, any kind of like ecosystem, they don't work well. They don't match well.
Nope.
And we think that our bodies are different. It's not going to work well. So we have to compensate for that because we can't just change the world. This is our reality right now. There are chemicals and toxins everywhere, and that's okay. But we are very blessed to have, 5 to 6 different elimination systems. Mm-hmm. So utilizing those and paying attention to and recognizing that it's like, hey, if you have a bunch of these symptoms going on, like poor sleep, poor digestion, poor focus, you're very irritable, like a bunch of different things, they can mm-hmm. It is very highly likely that it is related to a degree of toxicity that you're dealing with where there's too much input and not enough output.
Exactly.
The ratio is off. And, even if you're trying to have a really great diet, right? Let's say you even have the most perfect diet. But if you don't have a good enough output, meaning elimination of toxicity, then it doesn't matter how great your input is. You're not going to actually get the benefit of it.
Exactly.
It's
if we Thank you. I'm gonna keep going by starting.
Okay, that's awesome.
If we go back to the car analogy, you can put the best fuel money can buy in your car, but if that tailpipe is clogged up, if there's not a way for that exhaust to get out, eventually the system still breaks down. The engine still won't run, even if the gas tank is filled with the best stuff ever. If you have a kitchen or a home or anything and you don't clean it properly and you just continue to pile on dirty dishes, you could have a $10 million kitchen and it's still going to look like garbage and you still won't be able to use it because there's no counter space left anymore because all the plates have, last week's dinner list still on. So the body staying clean is mission critical to it being able to function and do its job. Yeah. And if it's not clean, there will be dysfunction every single time.
And it won't be clean if we are not eliminating our waste properly. And waste is not just, the remnants from your last meal. Mm-hmm. The body is constantly regenerating. We have to eliminate, a bunch of different dead cells and, a bunch of different things that come into us, from just our day-to-day lives, like bacteria and all sorts of different pathogens and a bunch of different things. There's so much that has to be able to get out, and if it doesn't, it's not going to be a good thing. And it's going to mean that your body's going to be less clean than it should be. Mm-hmm. And no one feels good when they have a dirty house. So you're most certainly not going to feel good if your house isn't clean, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. One of the analogies that we teach people to start to think differently about their bodies, and especially with this with the cleanliness thing and the detox and stuff, is you got to think of your body like a lake, okay? And that's for many, many reasons more than just detox. I mean, there's the fact that we're mostly water, we're 75% water, the fact that water has to be flowing and moving to be clean, and the body, if that stops moving, then it doesn't work well. Like, for example, if your immune system stops moving, you can have all the white blood cells, all the T cells, all the antibodies, you could have everything you ever need, but if it doesn't get anywhere and move anywhere, like it doesn't do anything, So there's a lot of comparisons you can use with the body and water. But if you think of your body like a lake, like a really clean lake, okay, a lake to function, it needs to have a good input of fresh, clean water, so off run from the mountains, an underwater spring, multiple rivers coming in and connecting to this big, huge body of water we call a lake. And it has to have outflow. It has to have a way for the old water, the stuff that's been polluted by the fish poop and the leaves and the bugs and the bacteria and the dust and all these things that land in that lake, that eventually all the waste that makes its way into that lake, that has to come out too.
Yeah. We don't want to be a pond.
Well, exactly. And there has to be this constant flow of new stuff in, old stuff out, new stuff in, old stuff out, new stuff in, old stuff out. And if that doesn't happen, that lake can be up in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, not touched by people, not touched by septic systems, not touched by anything dirty, and it will still not maintain its cleanliness because eventually the waste will build up and it will turn into a swamp. And we don't want our bodies to be a swamp. We want our bodies to be a beautiful, clean lake. Yes. You want to have crystal clear water. You want everything to be flowing.
Well, wouldn't you say like a sea? Because a lake doesn't necessarily have anything coming in or out.
No, lakes do.
Lakes do? No, not always.
Yeah, they do.
Not always.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. No,
always.
No, not always.
Yes, always.
I have seen so many
lakes. Rivers, underwater geysers. A lake has to have water coming in.
What about out?
And it has to have water coming. It has to have. That's the whole point of the. Like we've been teaching this.
I don't know if the lake is.
We've been teaching this for years. What do you mean?
It's more like a sea. Like it's
no.
A lake.
It's a lake.
I've seen lakes, and not all of them have water coming out.
No, the ocean doesn't follow that same principle because it has all the salt in there, and the salt kills all the bacteria and keeps it clean.
But I've seen lakes where it's considered a lake, but it doesn't have anything coming out necessarily.
It does. It leaks out in through the ground in little tiny mini streams.
If you can count, like, if that's enough, okay. I mean, sometimes it's slow, but I'm thinking of something maybe a little bit.
No.
Faster. Okay, sure. All right,
no, it doesn't have to be like a flowing river every time.
I was thinking like something more like efficient.
No,
I guess.
No. It has to have fresh water in, old water out. Whatever that looks like, if a lake doesn't have those two things, it's not going to stay clean.
Yeah,
it's going to turn into dirty water.
But there's lakes that aren't clean though, right?
Well, yeah, but there's people that aren't healthy, and then so we're
Yeah.
we're not talking about that. We're talking about how to.
So the lake that we are referring to is one that has clean water coming in and dirty water going out. So we'll just it's in and out. So that's the particular lake we're referring to. It's just I've seen a lot of dirty lakes, I guess. So maybe that's why. So
How is this just coming up now?
I don't know.
You have taught this analogy to dozens of people.
Okay, well, but not specifically using the word lake. Just
Yes,
a body
you have.
of water. Just a body of water. Anyways, Justyn, you're throwing us off, okay? So let's move on to probably
So to finish off the point,
yeah.
to convert that into the body, you need to have good food coming in, good nutrition coming in, clean air coming in, good water coming in. You need to have electricity coming in, good information coming into your brain. You need to have good input. And then you have to have elimination. You have to have waste coming out. You got to release the baggage, that you got to heal from the trauma. You got to have the bowel movements. You got to pee. You got to sweat. You got to breathe. You got to have all these different things. So that way we're constantly staying fresh, because movement is a part of life. You know, the expression's been around forever. When you stop moving, you start dying. If you ain't moving, you're dying. That is not just a fun analogy for life and progress and all these things. It's a truth for health as well. If there's not healthy, sufficient movement in the body, then health is virtually impossible. And whatever health you do achieve will be capped. It will be limited. So, you need to have good, healthy input and good, healthy output.
Yeah, be a good lake.
Be a good lake.
Not one of those lakes that don't have an output, in and out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't be a stagnant lake.
Don't be a stagnant lake.
Anyways, okay, let's move on to the dangers of doing a detox. So there's different. Sorry, I was thinking of 3 different things at once. Anyways, one of the things that people do when they look into detoxing is they really try to invest in multiple different kinds of supplements.
Mm-hmm. Supplements are usually go to.
Yeah. So. Just because something is marketed,
drink your water.
Just because something is marketed as being a detox supplement doesn't mean it can actually do anything, or it can actually support your body.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think there's
marketing
a lot
is
of
the
confusion.
least important reason why anybody should buy any supplement.
Oh yeah, there's some really popular supplements out there, and you see ads for them all the time, and every single time it's just so annoying. I'm like, oh my god, skip the ad, because I know it's not good, and everyone thinks it's good because it's promoted so heavily, but it's not. It's not quality, but that's okay. Anyways, but one of the
we're not going to name names, but we could.
One of the things that can really show you that a supplement may not be a good match for you is having total dependency on said supplement.
Exactly. You supplements by definition are supposed to supplement. So they're supposed to be in addition to, they're supposed to add to a healthy lifestyle, supposed to add to a healthy diet, supposed to add to a healthy exercise program, supposed to add to healthy sleeping habits, not be the only thing you depend on. So that is not healthy, whether we're talking about something natural, like a vitamin supplement, protein powder, whatever, or, something synthetic. Like if somebody's completely dependent on a drug to maintain some level of health or some manageable level of their symptoms, that's also not a healthy thing either.
Yeah, especially if it's 20 years.
Well, exactly. You don't want to be dependent on. You want to be as dependent on as little outside things as possible. That's just in general.
Have health in your own hands, right?
Exactly. You want to be in. Live life by your terms, where you want to go, not by whatever cards you're dealt.
And
right?
that's part of how you live life to the fullest, right?
Exactly. See what we did there? That was a good Easter egg. Anyways. So if you're solely depending on a supplement to detoxify your body, that's probably a red flag. Doesn't mean that supplements aren't very, very helpful. I mean, we use supplements in our practice all the time. We use supplements with every client we've worked with. We take supplements ourselves. They're awesome. But I'm not depending my entire protein requirement for the day on protein powder. I'm not depending on my only source of vitamin C to be a multivitamin. I'm not depending on my only source of fiber to be some kind of a fiber supplement or anything like that. It's diet first, then supplement. It's hydration first, then supplement. It's exercise first, then supplement. It's lifestyle first, it's habits first, it's principles first, it's the things that you can control with your actions, with your thoughts, with your words, with your physiology, and then we add to it with supplements. And if you're in a spot where you're not at a normal level of health, meaning that your body is in need of help, then yeah, I mean, like temporarily, depending on supplements to pull you out of a hole, that's totally fine, no problem. Like if you need something to have a healthy bowel movement because your body is incapable on its own, that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And that we can definitely use these tools to get you where you should be, but you shouldn't have to depend on that for 30 years. There's people we've worked with where they cannot poop without a laxative or their morning coffee, and it's been that way for a decade.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And then again, they're dependent on something that, can bring them side effects.
Exactly.
Right? Because the thing is like there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily bad. Let's say coffee, for example, but there's context around that. There's a way where it can not be so good for you. And one example would be if you are dependent on it to actually have a bowel movement. Mm-hmm. You're using it as a laxative, right? Sure. It's not just something, a pleasant beverage that you have, which is what it should be.
And that's also another great point. If the supplements you're taking aren't building up your body while you're taking them, so that way at some point you don't have to depend on them. Like we still take gut health supplements, multiple of them. And like our entire lifestyle is built around a healthy gut, a healthy brain, a healthy body. And we still take supplements for that. But at the same time, I can go 2-3 months without them.
Yeah.
And I still have healthy bowel movements, multiple every day. So can Elle. Like I'm not depending on them. It's just health is our job. And when you take a supplement, it means that other parts of your life are easier because a lot of that work is taken over by the supplement. So I'm willing to pay to have an easier to follow routine, lifestyle, all these kinds of things to take that supplement. And it's for convenience. It's not a dependence thing. But at the same time, all the gut health supplements that we talk about, that we promote, whether it's barley grass or any kind of a specific pill or powder or whatever, it is at the same time that it helps you with the function of having a bowel movement or having more energy or boosting your immune system, it's also building up the health of the body so that even without that thing, after you've taken it, you're still healthier than you were before.
Yeah. So
it's to build a healthy colon. It's to build a healthy heart. It's to build a healthy brain, not to just mask a symptom of an unhealthy part of the body and then just allow you to coast. It's always supposed to support the body with everything, not just detox, but especially with detox. Because when you try to like artificially do stuff, when you try to get out of the bounds of what your body is capable of, when you try to push things too hard, when you do things out of order, when you start to try to take the reins and you step into the driver's seat and you're not properly trained on how to be a NASCAR race driver, that's when you start having these kinds of problems where people have these detox symptoms, where their body starts to get sick. They start to have systems that break down. They start to have negative experiences detoxing because
you're not supposed to have a super hard time detoxing. Like
No.
that is evidence that it's not being done correctly.
Exactly. And it's also evidence that, you just didn't do as good of a job as your body would have. You pushed things too far.
Ooh, that's a good way of putting it. Right? Yeah.
You didn't you went out of bounds. You didn't run an efficient race. And it's impossible for you to know all of the nuance of what's going on inside of your body unless you're hooked up to machines all day long, which is not possible for anybody. But your body does. Your body has these built-in sensors, these built-in receptors to track everything, to look at all the data on the inside of your blood, of every organ, of every kind of cell, of everything. And it's managing all that information on a daily basis and then making decisions on how to keep you healthy. It's like you have your own built-in AI system tracking every part of your life and your health and then making the best possible decisions for all of it at the same time.
Right, your own vibe system.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's what the body's doing all the time, right? And if we just support that, then that's what we get. It works, okay? So it has to support your body's natural function and build up your body's natural function. If your supplement is not doing that, then I don't care how much you're spending on it or who claimed what, it's not as good as it could be, and it's not doing its job.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Awesome.
Why don't we go into just super quickly the steps in detoxing, and then I want to just very, 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 very quickly touch on because this is our first live stream specifically on detox. I'll very quickly touch on the emotional aspect of detoxing, and then we'll like go right into action steps.
Yeah, sounds good.
So why don't you go over the steps?
Okay, well, so first of all, step one, the gut. If you do not have if you do not have good gut health, there's no point in you cleansing or looking at cleansing any other part of the body. Also, second note, as you work on cleansing your gut, other parts of your body will also naturally start to cleanse and get cleaner, even if you're not focused on them. If you improve the health of your colon and your small intestines, you will start to have a cleaner, healthier liver. You will start to have a cleaner, healthier kidneys. Those systems will just kind of catch up because everything's
interconnected.
Exactly. So it's impossible to completely segment and only focus on one part of the body, because even if you're taking a herb that only has an active property that affects any change in a particular organ or a certain kind of hormone or a certain whatever, that hormone, that organ, that connects to other stuff in the body. So like everything is going to affect multiple things, but you have to focus on gut health first, and just some easy standards for everyone to look at. Okay, one that we track meticulously with every client we have is something called bowel transit time. What we look for with healthy bowel transit time, and this is obviously a goal to build to. It's not like instantaneous, but you want to be 1 meal in, 1 meal out. So if you're eating 2-3 times a day, you're supposed to have 2-3 bowel movements the next day. And you want those bowel movements to be healthy. You want them to follow a 3 or a 4 on the Bristol stool chart. They shouldn't be painful. They shouldn't have blood in your stool. You shouldn't have bits of food all the time. You shouldn't have to clear the room for half an hour every time you have a bowel movement. It shouldn't take you longer than a few minutes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be difficult to pass.
Yeah, and
right?
you shouldn't have symptoms afterward. Like some people, they have a bowel movement, they get dizzy, they get aches and pains, they get like bloating going on. Like it's supposed to be a healthy bowel movement.
Yeah.
Just pooping is not enough. It's got to be a healthy poop.
If there's something wrong, there's a reason why.
Exactly.
Like your body, it knows how to have a bowel movement. Okay. It just like how it knows how to be like have your heart beat, it knows how to have a good bowel movement. So if there is some malfunctioning going on, again, there's a reason why, and it's really, really, really important not to just shrug it off as like, oh, this is common, whatever. For example,
don't settle for normal.
Yeah, like why would you?
You don't have to.
Like you can have such a better life, and I think it's just one point that Justyn and I really like to make. One of the reasons why we are so passionate about health is like there's already so much suffering in this life. Like there's already so many things that people have gone through, and there's so much less inconvenience and pain, that people could have with their health if they took care of themselves, and also if they knew how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really, really, really important. And, if we're, just a super, and you said start with the gut, and I think that's a good step one. And, and
so
we'll go
start
more
with the gut. So just to finish off. So it's bowel transit time, but it's also another really easy thing that anybody can do like from home. Just monitor your digestion, right? So like, for example, if there's a food that the human body should be able to eat that's supposed to be healthy for you, you should be able to eat it, and it's supposed to be healthy for you too.
So like a whole food, so like an avocado or something.
Like we're supposed to have a breadth of food groups where human beings are omnivores by definition. We're not carnivores, we're not herbivores, we're omnivores. We're supposed to have it all. So if somebody has a digestive issue where they can't handle meats very well, they can't handle vegetables very well, they can't handle fruits very well, they can't handle healthy grains very well, there's a reason for that, and it doesn't mean that food is evil.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to just live by a fad diet for the rest of your life. It's just a sign that there's some digestive issues going on. There could be a microbiome imbalance. There could be an enzyme deficiency. There could be something wrong with the way that you're processing your food your quality, ingredients, eating schedule. Your serving sizes might be too freaking big, especially if you're used to supersized Western plates that we have access to these days.
You know, I've like, we can just tell you that there's many of you out there that can have bread and cheese again.
Yeah,
you know,
totally. You know, like, yeah, if you have a hyper specific condition, like a gluten intolerance, you have you're lactose intolerant, you have some kind of a late in life onset allergy, things like that. Like, those are things that you don't just instantly discredit as, oh, this is the way things are for the rest of my life.
At least that's what we believe.
At least try to work on it, you know,
to at least make it better.
Don't just submit to some kind of a label or a diagnosis without even like working at it, right? And you know, worst case scenario, you never get to improve it. You never see any changes or results. But at least you gave it what you had. At least you worked at it, you know? And that says a lot. That means a lot. Just, you know, the confidence that you get from that, the regret that you won't have to live with from that is huge in itself, even if you never get to eat cheese ever again. But at least you tried, you know, you fought for the cheese and the cheese fought back. Unfortunately, the cheese won this time, but hey, you know, nobody said you didn't try.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
So bowel transit time and digestive issues. You should be able to eat healthy food, right? Like, that's just, I think that makes sense for most people. But unfortunately, we're a lot of the time people get sucked into the marketing of nutrition, and they're sold that meat isn't good one week, or sugar isn't good the next week, or vegetables aren't good the next week. And there's people out there that'll say something's good and something's bad about literally everything. But if our ancestors have been eating it, and
if it's a whole food, if it's natural, it's not like a chemically, genetically altered food product.
Exactly.
Right?
If it's been a popular thing in our species for a while and it didn't make us extinct, like, it probably did something good for us. And so if
you know, like the sun.
Like, if it grows out of the ground, or it eats what grows out of the ground, and it's something that humans have a good history with, you should be able to eat it. Right. And if your digestion is good and your elimination is good, that means that you are significantly above average when it comes to gut health. And that is the base, that is the foundation that we need to clean the rest of the body. Because again, you know, your bowels are one of the big things that your body can use to eliminate a lot of waste at once. So you can really work at cleaning your liver, cleaning your kidneys, cleaning your brain, cleaning your muscles, cleaning whatever it is that you're focused on. And you can have a lot of that stuff be eliminated at once. And that's what we want when it comes to a detox, because you don't want those toxins, those inflammatory agents, the chemicals, the synthetics to have time to build up and float around in your system and cause damage somewhere else. You want them to get pulled out and leave immediately. And that's how you make a detox feel good and easy on your system. You don't want it to cause much damage. You don't want a lot of collateral damage. You want things to be smooth. You want things to be natural. You want things to be in, out, not scratching and clawing and fighting its way every inch of the way, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully that made sense.
For sure. And then, you know, to touch on the mental side of detoxing, like, yes, we live during a polluted, toxic time. Sure. But there's a lot of majority of people, you know, they were conditioned, they were taught really bad lifestyle habits. And, you know, no one just has a perfect life and ends up doing things not the best way, right? And that includes our relationship with food. That includes, you know, like, that means like our choices, the way we think about food, you know, what we allow into our life, right? What we, you know, what we consume or what we make excuses for. And the thing is like, when you start on the journey of your health, you're going to have to face a lot of these things. And it's really, really important and very wise to have a good, you know, a good support system, a good community to help you and support you and relate with you as you're going through this, to really have a good community, because detoxing is deeper, you know, it is more than just skin deep. You know what I mean? Like, it's more than just a physical aspect, because, you know, that's why Justyn and I, we take a holistic approach, right? There's multiple parts to life. And, you know, there's a mental side to things as well as a physical side to things, and so on and so forth. And, you know, when people, if people really want to do things right, then they need the resources that are necessary to accomplish their goals and to keep those results too. And one of those things is, again, having a support system, having people that that will help get you through it, and you yourself being ready for that accountability and to face those fears or face those insecurities or face those things that hadn't been dealt with, you know, that resulted in a negative coping mechanism, you know, like always, you know, only drinking iced coffees instead of drinking water, or, you know, just a bunch of different, you know, poor habits that are not very beneficial for your health. And, you know, those things, they have to be addressed, and you have to really, you know, if you really want to be healthy, you really want to live, you know, a better life and not have, you know, so much, you know, gut pain or discomfort or bloating or mental fatigue or this or that, you know what I mean? Like, life already has enough stress, and there's so much less stress that we could be putting on our bodies and on our minds by taking care of ourselves. But in order to really have our breakthrough, we have to break through, right? And we have to break through those poor habits that we developed or that we were taught, or whatever the case may be. We have to break through those, and we have to overcome those. So, you know, having a better relationship with food, having a community to help you, to support you, so on and so forth. Those things are very, very important. And, you know, for Justyn and I, we've helped people overcome decade-long severe chronic gut issues and different things going on in their body. And people wouldn't have been able to both have those results and keep those results and know how to keep themselves, you know, healthy if they hadn't have had all the resources. Because being healthy and having better gut health, detoxing, etc., it's more than just having a protocol. It's more than just having a supplement. It is a lifestyle change.
Exactly.
And if, you know, like, if you
and
want
your emotions are an unignorable part of your life.
Yes.
And
they'll make sure that you can't ignore them.
and detoxing emotionally, you know, it's really just like personal development. I mean, really, you know, you have to let go of unforgiveness, bitterness, trauma, all these kinds of things, and replace that with new healthy stuff, information, behavior, love. Like, it's so important. And a lot of people, like, they get kind of surprised when they do like a physical detox, how of an emotional experience that can be. Like, as your body changes and heals and goes through different stuff, like, that can affect people, you know, in emotional ways. And so they go hand in hand. You cannot separate the health of your brain or your mind from your body, and you cannot separate the health of your body from your mind. Yeah. Like, they both go hand in hand.
And, you know, we're not like counselors or pretending to be that or anything like this, but it's something that's really important to be coached on, and to understand that, you know, there are habits that have to be addressed. There's thinking patterns that have to be addressed. And when you have the mental tools to get through a detox efficiently and effectively, then there is amazing results waiting for you on the other side. All right. Well, why don't we go into some action steps that people can take in order to, you know, have better, have a true, you know, natural detox and support their body to do so. Well, the first one, as just mentioned, is having proper hydration.
Yeah, that's mission.
That is so important. That's mission critical.
and honestly, the better you are, the better plan, protocol, whatever it is, the better thing that you do for detoxing, the more important hydration becomes. Because the more that you are cleansing, the more intense the cleanse is, the more sensitive your body is to cleansing, the more powerful of the stuff is that you're trying to cleanse out. It just makes the water in the body more and more and more and more and more important. So if you are trying to cleanse and it's really important to you, and you really want to get this detox stuff figured out, hydration is not something that you can ignore if you want to feel good enough to ever see this process through. It's so important.
Yeah. And not to spend too long on this particular part, but it is so important. There are a lot of different symptoms specifically associated with dehydration. But 3 things you can look at is, 1, how much you're actually urinating throughout the day. So for example, people, they want to urinate around like 6 to 8 times?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Give or take.
Really, you want, twice the amount of urination to bowel movements. And that obviously there's always going to be variables across the board with different people.
Yeah.
But that's like relatively
This is
the
more
average.
like a good, goal to like a good baseline to look for to see like, if you're within normal ranges.
Yeah. And some people, they're not even necessarily drinking that much, but they're urinating a lot, which is actually evidence that what they're drinking, just like how food cannot be properly utilized, right? Like it kind of goes in you and sure, it gives you some nutrients, but it wasn't utilized properly in the body and it just sort of got out of you. Water can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't have quality water and if your body is having a problem with really utilizing that water, then it's not going to be absorbed, very properly. And you're going to end up urinating rather quickly after you drink water.
Totally.
And that's pretty common. So that's one element. And another element too is also if you're thirsty after you eat. So in order for us to even break down and utilize our nutrients,
or while you're eating also.
The whole, in that eating window, right? Mm-hmm. In order for us to properly break down and utilize nutrients, our nutrients have to be hydrolyzed, right? So we require water in order to digest our food.
Water soluble vitamins,
yes.
Water soluble nutrients.
Exactly. So it's very, very, very important. And so your body will immediately send a signal to you to drink more water because you didn't have a level of hydration that was necessary to digest that food. Mm-hmm. Because you actually don't want to drink and eat at the same time, relatively speaking. So I don't want to go into too many things, but if you are immediately needing a drink, right? Like, or some water or like, something to kind of complement your food, mm-hmm. like right away, especially having this, this thirst right away, that's evidence that, that you're not hydrated. And also, different things like having, a dry mouth or,
obvious dehydration.
Yeah.
Symptoms.
Obvious dehydration things. So there's a lot that we could go into that, but one of the biggest things that I'll very quickly touch on
Number 3 would be energy.
Yeah, exactly. It was mental fatigue. Yeah. So that's actually the first sign of dehydration is mental fatigue. And a lot of people don't know that. They think it's just thirst.
I got low blood sugar. I worked too hard. I didn't sleep well. I'm stressed. And all those things can be factors. Absolutely.
Of course.
But the first thing that happens when your body starts to get dehydrated is the brain slows down.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's very important for the electricity in our body, for the communication in our body. And so, we're mostly water. And if our water game isn't where it needs to be, then that's going to impair the efficiency of the machine. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's enough about water for right now. Why don't you go through these?
And just to summarize all that up, you have to be properly hydrated because detox is movement. We covered that already. And water is the delivery system of the body. It is what allows all movement to happen. So whether we're talking about nutrients getting absorbed from your intestines, getting delivered to your big biceps, the way that you can curl big barbells, water is what transports all that stuff from A to B. Everything, everywhere. Nutrients, toxins, hormones, blood, everything has to move through water or a water-based fluid.
Yes.
And so if there's not enough water there, then there's not enough fluid to carry that toxin out, and we need it all the way out because it doesn't matter if it just goes from A to B. It's got to go from A to out your butt, and if it's not all the way out your butt, then it can still hurt you. It's just hurting a different part of the body, right?
All right, why don't you go through these pretty quickly?
Yeah, so next would be, just some simple changes you guys can make in the diet, okay? And I'm sure most people have heard to eat more fiber. If you're one of those folks that have an issue digesting fiber, we don't have time to go into all that stuff that causes that, but that is mostly, in most people that we've worked with anyway, it's a big part of that is a microbiome issue. It's gut dysbiosis. Your bacteria are out of balance, and you have a tough time breaking down those fibers because there aren't enough good, healthy bacteria that are actually breaking them down fast enough, and so the digestion is slow. The gas builds up. There could be toxicity in the intestines, and so that can cause like autoimmune stuff when that gas builds up there. But anyway, you need fiber. Okay, fiber is a big part of a healthy gut. It acts as a prebiotic for all the good, healthy bacteria. So it's what actually feeds them, and you need them to have healthy bowel movements, because a lot of what makes up the material of a bowel movement is dead bacteria. And it's the byproduct and the proteins and the things like that they make inside your gut, and the dead cells and undigested food and a lot of stuff, right? But so you need to increase fiber, okay? And if you have an issue digesting fiber, let us know. We'll do a podcast on that. If not, join the academy, because we have tons of training on this already.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
There's a lot. But you need to have healthy fiber. Fiber acts like a cleaning mechanism. It acts like a broom. It helps to collect and form and drag and pull and push waste through your tunnel, which is your colon. And then also, microbiome supporting foods. So foods that are high in bacteria, or foods that feed those bacteria, aka stuff that have prebiotics in them, like fiber and starch and that sort of thing.
So again, going through these pretty quickly. So that would be things like
am I talking too much?
It's okay.
I'm talking too much.
Okay.
That means I'm talking too much.
No. It's just,
whenever she starts talking with a big smile, that means that I need to zip it.
Oh gosh, you don't have to give away all of our secrets, my love. Anyways, but it would be something like a bunch of things like raw cacao, squash, sauerkraut, legumes, apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. Yogurt, apples, white rice can be very healthy.
Sweet potatoes, radishes, beets. There's a bunch of different things that can support the body for sure. Like Justyn said, with the fiber.
Things that are high in fiber, things that are high in starches, but also high in other nutrients, dense in nutrients, dense in minerals, and dense in vitamins. Like a good reason for you to eat it, not just the sugar and the starch, like potatoes, exactly. And then fermented foods, things that are high in bacteria, yogurt, apple cider vinegar, pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi.
Yep. And to also eat more green vegetables, the chlorophyll is very helpful. Well,
chlorophyll is so important for gut health.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if we have time to
there's a lot. No,
we don't have time to explain why. Okay.
But there's a lot of different nutrients. But obviously, if you've ever really looked into different things about gut health, you've probably heard how people sell just straight up chlorophyll, but it's you could take and eat just actual vegetables.
Anything green.
Because chlorophyll is literally
chlorophyll
plant blood. You know how when you have a steak and there's a bunch, there can be blood or whatever? There's the plant blood in the actual plant, so you could just eat the plants.
If it's a green plant that has chlorophyll
then you could just eat that.
And the greener it is, the more chlorophyll it has.
You don't have to have a separate bottle of green plant juice.
And again, if you're somebody who can't eat the whole plant because of whatever issue, you're scared of the FODMAPs, you're scared of the lectins, some carnivore got you, worried about the defensive chemicals of plants and how we're not supposed to eat them and all these kinds of things. Then that would circle back to what we talked about earlier. That would be a digestive issue that can be fixed and should be fixed. And then you don't have to spend $20, $30, $40, $50, $60 on chlorophyll. You can spend $1.50 on a big ass bundle of kale and get chlorophyll that way.
Yep. And ultimately, if someone is more sensitive, right, then they work their way up. And that would be a really great time, especially if there are sensitivities where, you eat the wrong thing and you experience a good amount of pain or something like this. That would be a really good time to work with someone who has experience and has really good results, with helping people with their gut health, because no one wants to be in pain. There's already enough pain in life.
When it comes to your health, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is
really not
why you need more health in the first place.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, they think, because it's natural health, I can do it myself. But we're dealing anyways,
more to it than that.
There's much more to it than that. So it'd be all of that, and then also, of course, moving every day. We want to get really good circulation, really improving the flow of our blood, the flow of everything in our body, because again,
our lymphatic system needs to circulate. Movement is what circulates all the fluid in between our lymph nodes. Walking, swimming, jumping enjoying your marriage, all kinds of movement are very, very important.
We like all kinds of movement,
and they have to be done often.
Yes.
All the time. Your body was built for movement. Movement is medicine to the body. And then as far as a detox is concerned, exercise, movement, activity, that stimulates detox in the body. So for example, we were talking with a new client recently, and she was sharing something about how her brother, whenever he exercises, he often gets sick within a short period of time after really heavy, intense exercise, and he's really, really consistent with his gym, with his workouts, and all these things, and then he gets sick more often when he's training than when he's not training. And we had to go into that a little bit and just explain, like, well, yeah, I mean, if somebody is super, super toxic, and this person had some health issues and some symptoms in their life that was showing clear signs of toxicity, and you stimulate a bunch of movement and you stimulate a bunch of detox without having good elimination, then, like, yeah, you're going to experience symptoms because of that. You're going to experience, because they're going to experience the body going into detox. And if your body isn't prepped and ready to handle that, then you're going to feel it. Right.
Yeah.
So moving all the time. And if somebody, like, a good pro tip, if somebody has an issue with, something food related, then, I mean, hey, walking shortly after a meal to help improve digestion, to help improve movement. Like, somebody goes for a 5-10 minute walk after they have a meal, they're going to stimulate a bowel movement pretty quickly if they have, if they have a half decent working gut. So that can just be one more thing that can help,
Yeah.
Also, taking care of oral health, and we'll have to do an entire episode on oral health. We don't have time
there's
for it
a
now.
lot more that we could add to do with detoxing alone, and I'll let you, of course, touch on that because I know that's something you're
I'm going to touch it. I'm
very passionate about.
Touch it.
But we are at our time, so we're gonna wrap it up pretty quickly here, and we're definitely gonna have to do more because I know that a lot of you had. We have our own community and people we talk to, and they gave us a bunch of questions, because, as mentioned earlier, there's a lot of misconception about detoxing. There's a lot of questions around detoxing, a lot of confusion, especially around, doing liver flushes, or what's the situation with juice cleanses, or how do you know when you're done a detox, or how can detox affect weight loss, right? Like, can it improve it, so on and so forth. And so we'll have to do that next Tuesday.
Yes. But really quick, when it comes to oral health, okay, you want to clean your whole mouth. That's the biggest tip that we can give. The whole thing. And, like, first of all, we're not dentists, and so if you need actual real help with your teeth, with your gums, with your the state of your mouth, like, go see a holistic dentist. Go find somebody that actually knows what the heck they're talking about. But first of all, just applies to everybody. Clean your entire mouth. Don't just brush your teeth. Clean your tongue. Clean your gums. Clean the roof of your mouth. Clean underneath your tongue. Clean your cheeks. Gargle with like some good healthy filtered salt water if you have to. Clean the top of your throat. Clean as much of it as you can. You'd never just wash your hands and then ignore your fingers and just focus on your palm. You wouldn't wash your car and then just ignore the front half and only do the back half. But people do that with their mouth all the time. You have a shower, you wash your whole body. You don't just only wash your face and then get out and the rest of your body's dry. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a shower. That's just you washed your face. So if you're cleaning your teeth, if you're cleaning your mouth, not just your teeth. So that's a big thing. Also, depending on your diet, depending on what you're eating, depending on how good your diet is, you will have to clean your mouth more often. If you're eating lots of acid-forming foods, high sugar foods, nutrient deficient foods, things like that, you'll need to clean more often. You should be flossing after every meal. You should be brushing and cleaning after every sugary or acid food you eat or drink. And it's just so important because if your mouth is sick, then that sickness will trickle down into the gut every time. So your whole GI tract starts at the mouth, right? This is the gateway to what goes in the body. And so if you have a gut, or if you have a oral issue, a mouth issue, you will have stuff affecting your gut. You will have something trying to create a gut problem if it hasn't already. So cleaning your mouth, cleaning your teeth regularly, super, super, super important, okay? And again, some of these things you guys might have heard of them before. Hopefully you've heard of all of them before because these are some of the most simple, easy, basic pieces of advice and tips we could literally come up with. We just wanted to make it as no-brainer, common sense. Anybody can do it, simple as possible. And so
it's sustainable.
So it's sustainable.
Yeah.
But also just because we have a more than one person audience here. So we have to, when we're giving advice generally, it has to be easy. It has to be sustainable, but it also has to be safe because the stuff that we do, like we heavily focus on the uniqueness and the personalization of all the plans we put together.
Yeah.
Every single person we work with is doing something unique to them. And that's like the biggest part of our job. And so when we're giving out advice, like we don't know your health history. We don't know your medical history. We don't know the condition of your body because we don't know you. I mean, hopefully we know some of you guys watching right now, but we don't know all of you. And so we can't give advice to you, to your condition, to your state, your experience right now. We can just give best practices.
Yes.
And best practices, when done right, are things that you can do simply and easily without somebody watching over your shoulder. And if we have to inspect and remind and train and coach you how to do these things, then we can't talk about it in a public setting like this. We have to talk about it in our coaching program. So if we're going to talk about it on the podcast, it should be something that you can safely do on your own. And that's the whole point why we have this stuff here.
Yeah.
Right? So that you have something to start with. You can build a base and then you take it as far as you want to go. But if you do all this stuff, if you're not doing one of these things and you start doing it, you'll notice a difference. If you do all of these things, you'll notice a big difference.
And your body will thank you for it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You learn how to hydrate the body properly. You drink better water. You look at your electrolytes. You make sure you're drinking enough of it. You drink it often enough. You eat good, healthy, gut-supporting foods. You move all the time. You eat lots of green stuff. Get chlorophyll into your body. It's super important. And then you keep your mouth clean. Those things alone will have a big impact on the cleanliness of your body. And it might not be enough depending on where you're at in your health, with your conditions, with your lifestyle, but you can't go wrong doing those things. Okay. So start there. If you need more help, join the academy, comment down below. We'll answer as many questions as we can. But, do you think we spieled enough?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think it was good. At least I hope so.
I hope so.
Hopefully. All right. Well, we'll see.
Anybody watching live, you just feel free to comment. If you guys got something good out of this one, let us know. We'd love to hear all your feedback.
For sure.
If you got to this point, first of all, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And again, we want to thank our donors, thank all the generous people who gave to make this show possible, to, make this a reality for people who can't pay for it. We are super grateful to all of you guys.
Yeah, because
you want to know.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Nope.
I was just gonna say, being healthy is a human right, and Justyn and I, like as a business, as young business owners, we just want to do everything we can so that each person or more people have that opportunity. And we want to do that with education. We want to do that with donating actual healthy food to local people in our area and different things like this. We have a big vision for what we want to do, and we really, really appreciate.
And we can't do it alone.
We can't.
So
do it
we're
alone,
just super grateful that we don't have to.
Uh-huh.
We're grateful that we've met enough good people and helped enough good people where, we have a team. We have a community. We have some people that believe in what we're doing. They've seen the results of it, and we get to spread it around. And that's what this whole thing is. So we're super grateful for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've got to this point, like, comment, share. If you got something good out of this podcast, even if it was just a simple laugh, we appreciate every like, every comment, every share. Like, it helps us reach more people. You know, if there's somebody else out there that that could use some information that we talked about today, then pass it along. Get them to watch it. Bully them if you have to. It's bullying for a good cause. But yeah, just thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was the ReVitalized Podcast. We talked a lot about detox. And speaking of which, my bowel anyway works really well. So I'm going to have to end it here and practice what I preach. All right.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you next Tuesday. Do you want to give the time?
Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's up in the air, between 6 and 7. We're figuring that out. We're still new to this whole live streaming thing, so we're going to get that locked in over the next month or so, but we'll be live. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you for helping us to revitalize our world. All right. Bye, everyone.
God bless everybody. Have a great day.
Just this?
Mm-hmm.